Welcome to Getting Real with Real Estate with Danielle Kempf and Jim Kempf, St. Louis's favorite father-daughter real estate team. Your source of real estate information in the greater St. Louis area.
All right, guys. Well, welcome to the show today.
Welcome.
Welcome to the worldwide podcast of Getting Real with Real Estate.
Yep,
right?
for
We were
the
just talking about that.
International real estate team.
Oh, man. Well, hey, we got a great guest today. Gillian Marchenko with March Home Staging is here with us today. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
It's a little stuff. If we look like we're sweating, folks, it's because it's a little hot
The
in here.
AC's out.
AC's not working too good. But hey, that's all right. We're troopers. We keep it going.
Yes.
So before we get started, like always, we got to have a little joke.
A little joke. Okay.
Okay.
You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. What is a chair's favorite kind of TV show? A sitcom.
Okay.
Good
So
job.
it's dad jokes.
Yes, they're not great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're like cheesy.
They're horrible.
Yeah.
No, it's good.
They're cheesy
Yeah.
as can
Yeah.
be. So
Awesome.
awesome. All right. Well, so today we're going to talk a little bit about home staging. That's an important part of our business, right?
Yeah.
And obviously in your business because you're the expert at it.
Yes.
But I guess kind of for starters, Gillian, tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of how you got into staging, maybe a little history as far as that goes.
Okay. I have been actively staging coming up on a year now in June 1st. So
Yay.
first year of business. My history before that was in writing and publishing. So I kind of took a new turn a couple of years ago. And how I got into it was when I was buying and selling. So
Okay.
a few years ago, my husband and I sold our ranch and bought a fixer-upper. And during that process, we were looking at homes online.
Yeah.
You know, you go right to Zillow or those places online and you're looking at homes, and the ones I wanted to visit were all staged.
Right.
You know, the ones that I wanted to go to looked great, and I thought I could imagine myself living there.
Right.
And so that kind of piqued my interest. I asked the realtor I was working with about it. And I said, "Do people do this for a job?" And she said, "Yes."
Yes, they do.
And I said, "Can I do it?" And she said, "Yes, you know, if you get the training, if you work on
Yeah.
it." And also I had an opportunity to stage our home as we were selling it. So kind of to
wow.
figure out how I did that a little bit.
Okay.
So I got that in my head, and then it took a lot of back end work to
Yeah.
just train myself a bit, look for online sources and classes, prep a business type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now I've
Starting a
been
new
doing it.
business. Yeah. It's a.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
a great story. Very cool.
fun.
All right. You want to
Yeah, we'll just start with just, you know, you kind of already started, just the benefits of staging for like a seller, but then also kind of like you said, on the buying side, kind of what are the benefits for a buyer too?
That's a really good question. I'll start with buyer because it's a little bit easier.
Yeah.
I think if anything, it helps buyers get going in their process of moving. You know, if I go into a home where people are still living in it and they want to list and sell while they're still living, which is called occupied, I tell them pack at least 50 to 75% of your things, which means you have to start packing and figuring out the keep, giveaway, donate, you know, pile. And so I think that really helps people, especially if you have a family or something like that, because it's a vulnerable, crazy time. I think probably the main thing though is it's a great return on investment. So if you're selling your home and you want a higher amount, then staging is a great way to go. I think some statistics say you can get up to 20% over asking price, sell 88% faster, which maybe isn't pertinent right now.
Well,
I don't know. That's a little
yeah.
Still going quick.
They are still going quick, but it still does help. I mean,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
see it. We've had multiple clients that have staged, and those properties always do sell. And I mean, a lot of it's the market with the multiple offers, but man, it sure doesn't hurt because the houses I mean, they just look like you walk in and
It's ready.
It's ready to go,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
And what you're doing is you're selling a lifestyle.
Yeah.
You're selling the house, but sometimes I tell the people, we're selling you as well. You don't want the house to look lived in, but you want people to imagine themselves living there.
Right.
And so you walk in and you say, man, I can see myself living there. You kind of got them by then.
Yeah.
And what do they say? It takes 8 to 10 seconds for a buyer to think, I'm interested or not in the home.
Yeah.
So I always say stage those main rooms. If you walk in and you have an entry and then living and dining and you have a smaller budget, do the living and dining. You know, do something that grabs them as they walk in.
Yeah.
And then when you get into the abyss of the
Right.
home,
Yeah.
their
That's-
expectations can go
Yeah.
down.
The extra bedrooms don't necessarily have
Well,
to be
that's-
staged.
Yeah,
type
but
thing.
that is very true because usually, as we work with buyers, you'll go in multiple homes, right? And
Yeah.
a lot of times they know like that whether it's the right one or not. So you're absolutely right about that. If they walk in and it looks great and everything, and they're like, oh wow,
Well, but even before that, they're looking at photos online, like
Well,
you
yeah.
mentioned.
It's a big
Yeah,
deal.
And
that's
professional photos and staged ones, it just looks
Yeah.
sharp as can be.
And if you have a home that needs some improvements, is a little rough behind the edges, or is a little dated, you come in and you see a really beautiful living room, you might not notice the chipped paint or this or that,
Exactly.
you know, and you don't want to be deceitful, but
No,
you're
but-
bringing out the potential of the home.
Right, for
Exactly.
sure. That's absolutely right. When you do the occupied staging, obviously for a vacant house, you stage, you bring in all your own stuff. The occupied staging, you're actually using, for the most part, you're using the clients, the seller's furnishings and stuff like that. Then do you also maybe bring in some of the, I call them dust collectors, but you know, some of the,
Tchotchkes.
yeah, they'd be
nick
dust
in the
collectors.
neck,
In my
yeah.
house, they would be dust collectors. But I mean, do you then bring those in? And tell me about like that, because that would be a lot of times when we see occupied houses, like you mentioned, packed 50 to 75%, but a lot of people don't follow that advice.
Right.
So how do you kind of deal with that a little bit, and how do you decide what to bring in and how to? Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. So first of all, as professionals, you offer your expertise and they can take it or not.
Yeah,
You know,
true.
but I do have different levels of packages I can offer. So I can come in and do a DIY consultation. And a lot of times realtors just pay for that because it's a
Right.
flat fee and it's not very expensive.
Right.
Okay.
And I will go through room by room and give my suggestions of what to omit, what to add, even furniture placement, those types of
Yeah.
things that you
Yeah.
think you walk in the room, you don't want the back of the sofa the first thing you see, you know, things like that. So I'll go through and kind of walk them through my suggestions, and then
Right.
it's really up to them to
Right,
sink
right,
or
right.
swim.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
But I also can
get
come
that.
in and do the occupied stage where I'm in there with them, and in a sense, I'm their packing buddy. You know, whatever they need to do, my goal is to
wow.
make those photos look good.
Right.
Even if we have to put a bunch of stuff in the garage and then we
Yeah.
pull it all back out, you know,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever.
Or
So I do,
closets.
or closets. So I'll do like a photo prep session where I'll come in the day of and get it all zhuzhed. And I do add in some of my stuff just for the pictures,
Right,
and then
right,
I
right.
take it out.
Oh, that's awesome.
Occupied stages where I bring my stuff in and leave those things, it's tricky because they live there.
Right.
So
yeah,
they're
right.
gonna sleep on my comforter and use the towels, you know. So a lot of times I suggest getting inexpensive switch outs because you always say go neutral, go white, you
Right.
know, that kind of thing. But I'm a small business and I'm newer and I just want to work with clients. So I just
Yeah.
try to help them.
That's
it's kind of
awesome.
like mommy's helper as an
Yeah, yeah,
occupant.
yeah. Well, that's I mean, we
Yeah.
feel like that sometimes as listing agents and buyers
Yeah.
agents. We're there. For me, everybody's a young person anymore, right? So
Kid.
they're all kids. Everybody it seems like so. You know, I treat them like they're my kids, kind of.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if I see a house I don't like, for some reason, I tell them I don't think it's a good house for you. So it's the same thing. You're just trying
Yes.
to help them along the lines
Yes.
there of doing the right thing to help them get the biggest
Yeah.
bang for their buck, right?
I mean, obviously it's a business, but
Yeah.
I had a DIY consultation the other day and I went through and we talked about the home, and this seller had done so much. She had a 1-month-old and a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old, and she had painted everything. Like she was really hoofing it.
Yeah.
And she wanted a few pieces brought in, like an a la carte deal. And I said, listen, I can drive out to Wentzville with this sofa table, and I'm going to upcharge you, and it's going to be twice as much. Or you can go on Amazon, and here's the link,
Oh, wow.
buy it, take it to your next house, you know? And she was
Oh.
like, thank you for saving me. And I'm all like, well, it wasn't a huge difference in my mind as far as income,
Right,
but
right,
I want to
right.
build relationships.
Right,
Exactly, yeah.
I want to
That's
make
awesome.
money, but I want to help people too.
Sure.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
so
absolutely.
Yeah.
it was cool. And she
That's
was
good.
like, "That's awesome! Now I have a new sofa table." So
That's fantastic.
Decorate for the new house.
Yeah, cool.
And then you kind of talked just a little bit about like painting. You mentioned that this seller had just recently painted. What are some of the trending paint colors that you're seeing or recommending?
well, a lot of realtors and flippers and builders are doing that agreeable gray. Everybody, everybody loves the agreeable
Been there,
gray,
done that.
which I understand. You can bend grayish. You know, it's a grayish color, so you can go gray, you can go beige.
Yeah.
It looks good in different lighting, things like that.
Right.
As a designer, it's not my favorite.
Right.
Fair enough.
But it also depends, like you were mentioning before, Jim, the woodwork and things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
it's a solid, safe choice.
Right, right.
As far as what's trending, we still always want to go neutral because you think universal buyer. So we want to appeal to the most people possible.
Right,
Light
right.
and airy, natural light. You know, any kind of neutral color is good. But some of the ones that I really like is the White Dove from Benjamin Moore. So that's a white paint, but with pretty even undertones. So it doesn't pull green or blue
Okay.
or whatever.
Is that like would you call that an off-white?
Well,
I
there's
just-
one that's called...
Back in the day, my mom was off-white. Everything
Yeah.
had to be painted off-white. So I'm wondering
Kinda
if
like
that's
a
just... I'm
cream.
kind of wondering if that is coming back at all.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the White Dove is a little more classic white, but
Okay.
not so stark.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
But
right,
if
right.
you want like a cream, you can do like a Swiss coffee with Benjamin Moore,
Okay.
or there's also this Greek vanilla with Sherwin.
wow.
You know, Sherwin.
Sherwin-Williams.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I would say if I come in, obviously, if there's a turquoise wall or an orange wall or deep red, I just recommend neutral.
Yep.
And you want to think people want to come in and they want to decorate.
Right.
So you don't
Yeah.
want to do crazy colors.
Right.
So I think even agreeable gray, I'll allow it. And I have to like not just put my opinion in either. So
fair enough.
That's funny.
I'm sure your house looks lovely, Danielle.
It's something.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, it looks okay. It's you
I'm
know,
sure
what
it's
can I
great.
say? We talked a little earlier, and maybe there's not much to this, but are there any differences on your end? Do you see like when you're staging a home for a millennial versus a senior versus a whatever whatever all these generations are?
Mm-hmm.
You see any trends there, or is it just kind of like all pretty similar?
Just
You know
personalized.
what I mean? Just kinda-
Everyone has their own style, maybe.
Well, I do always ask. So let's say we're working on a project together, Jim.
Yeah.
I'll say, who's your target buyer?
Yeah. Okay.
Are you wanting to sell to a first-time homeowner?
Yeah,
You know, couple without kids, a single, a family with young kids? Because I would stage to that,
I
you know,
got you.
and
That
you
makes
maybe,
sense.
or if it's an older couple, say it's a bigger home, and you know somebody or an individual, not just a couple, needs more substantial income in order to afford the home, then you would
Right.
probably more luxury type
Right,
stage.
right. That makes sense.
So
okay.
for me, I think of the house and what would benefit it most to show its most potential,
Right.
Yeah.
and then your target seller,
Yeah,
you
That
know,
makes sense.
Yeah,
buyer.
that's
Target buyer.
for
Yeah.
that. Yeah. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, so it's
Cool.
not so much.
It's a good way to look at it. I didn't really think about it that way. But that's
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah, because again, you're always thinking the biggest group, and so if you make it too one style,
Right.
Yeah.
it doesn't appeal to as many
Right,
people.
right,
That
right.
makes total
So-
sense.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. Yeah.
And then, do you have a story of one of the most challenging homes you've staged yet?
Okay, I do.
Okay.
So, first of all, the realtor called me on Saturday, and I
Okay.
staged on Monday. So
Wow.
that was a very quick
Tight
turnaround for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I had the inventory in stock, and my mover was available, my husband. But she said, you know, can you go over? Can you run over? It was actually my birthday. We were out, like, walking down the street, which was a great present. You know, I'm a new
Yeah.
business owner, so hey,
Yeah.
give me a stage for my birthday. But anyway, she said, can you run over? It's a sibling group whose mother passed away, and they've held on to this home for a couple years, and now they want to list it, but it's a tenuous, you know, vulnerable time for them. And she said, it's a little bit dated. And I said, okay, well, I'll see what I can do. So I went over, and you walk into the home, and it had great bones, vaulted ceiling, you know, it was dated,
Yeah.
but there was this rust orange carpet
Oh, wow.
all throughout the living room, and it was just like you know, it just, that's all you saw.
Yeah, right,
You didn't
right,
even
right.
see the beautiful ceiling or the windows.
Yeah.
You were just like, what's up with this rust carpet? So I just went back and found all the creams and neutrals, which is mostly what I work with. And my thought was, so in design, you think of colors in houses like this, 60, 30, 10. So 60% of the house is the dominant color.
Okay.
30% is the secondary color, and 10% is like the
Oh.
pops of color.
Okay.
So at the time, that rust carpet was 60%
Yeah.
because it was so
Yeah, right,
strong.
right.
So I flipped it and brought in all neutrals and creams so that
Oh.
the 60% was a neutral.
Yeah.
And it made it just so you looked more at the whites and the creams, and the floor kind of went away.
Right, right.
A
Was that a
little bit.
shag? Was it shag?
Oh, yeah.
You have a similar
That's like
story.
19 I do. It's funny that you say that, really, because it's almost an identical thing happened to us. This was way back a long time ago. BD before Danielle.
Yep.
Way before Danielle. But we had a house in like Sappington, and it was a really nice story and a half house, but it was very dated, and it had expired. It was an expired listing. We picked it up, and it was vacant, and everybody that came in said how dated the kitchen was and the carpet and just all that. So after and way different market back then.
Yeah.
You could be on the market 6 or 7 months, and that was normal stuff back then. So after several months of hearing the same stuff, we talked to the seller about staging it, and sure enough, they staged it, and nobody ever talked about the carpet again.
Right.
Nobody said anything about how dated the kitchen was, and none of that changed.
Yeah.
Except for all that nice new stuff that the stager brought in.
You gave the vision of the life you could live there. With that rust
100%,
color.
I totally agree with you there.
Yeah.
It was 100%. This one was kind of green, I think.
Right.
So it wasn't rust, it was green, but it was pretty thick too.
Yeah.
I think it was shag. So.
Those are the times you really
great
want to
one.
suggest staging. And
Yeah, 100%.
between, the teamwork of myself and the realtor and their team,
Yeah.
they went open house and they got an offer and they
That's
went
awesome.
under contract in the
That's
first
awesome.
weekend,
Yeah, fantastic.
And then we just did a house a couple weeks ago, and it had been surprisingly on the market for 4 months.
Oh wow.
It's a pretty nice house.
Interesting.
And I'm not sure why. Maybe
Yeah.
the price point was a little higher, that could happen.
Yeah.
But the realtor took it off, had me come stage, put it back on, and it
Yep.
sold.
Yep.
Nice.
I
That can
mean,
be
not
the
all of
difference.
mine are like that. Some
Right.
I stage and I feel really bad because I'm like, well, you paid me and now you still have to reduce.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, that happens to us with price houses. I mean,
Yeah.
we try to get them to where we feel like they're going to sell really quickly for the client, right? They get the top dollar in the shortest time and all that. But occasionally it doesn't always happen that
Yeah.
way for one reason or another. But
Right. But it's fun to share the success stories.
Oh yeah,
yes,
for
Yeah,
sure.
exactly.
because
yeah,
you're
absolutely.
giving a good ROI. They were happy. It just feels
Yeah.
good when you do a good job.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely. That's awesome. Cool. So kind of along those same kind of lines of thought, because we have this happen to us, so I want to kind of get your spin on how you handle the folks. You go into the house and they think everything's perfect and it's like showroom ready and it's really not.
Right.
You got any stories about that? Or
I
how you-
actually just did one of those too.
Okay,
I
good.
guess
I
I've
love
been
that.
a little bit busier last couple weeks. Older couple lived in the home for 43 years.
Right.
It's not vacant yet. They wanted me to come in and consult, and their idea was use some of their things. So it's a cheaper stage. People
Yeah.
think, well, I have things, you can use that, and you
Yeah.
don't have to bring in your own stuff.
Yeah.
So we went through and we talked about what I would recommend, and I basically recommended to move all their furniture out and let me bring in. And the sweet guy, I did also look at their Alaska vacation pictures for about 20 minutes. They were a very sweet couple, but he said, I just don't understand. He said, you want me to take my beautiful things all out so that you can move all of your things in. He said, I feel like this is a scam. And I took it, fine, because I understand, perspectives and things.
Right.
But again, when I have those situations, I try to watch my language.
Right, sure.
So instead of saying cluttered, you'd say you need to edit out some of your things.
Oh, that's a good
If you don't want to say old and archaic and ancient, you can say well loved.
Right. We've used well preserved before.
Well maintained.
Yes. Well maintained is great. So if it's a dated home, but it is well maintained,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
love
yeah.
that compliment.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What is another one I use? Oh, it has a timestamp on it.
Oh,
People like that when you say, well, that's a beautiful set of china from your grandma. It probably does have a timestamp on it for a universal buyer.
Right.
But boy,
Oh, that sounds-
I'm sure
yeah.
you'll enjoy it in your next
Yeah, exactly.
So I just try to think about it. Like I've said, I've used this word a couple times already, but it's a vulnerable time. And when
It
you
is.
walk into someone's home, that's their home.
Right.
Yes.
Like they have all those things for a reason or not,
Right.
but those are their things. So I never want to dismiss or diminish.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to make
'Cause-
them feel good about what they have.
Exactly.
Yeah, we get the same. I mean, it's kind of the same thing when we do a walkthrough with like on a listing consultation to a seller, and we do a walkthrough, and we see a lot of, and we know what they need to do. But a lot of times, sounds selfish, but boy, I'd rather bring you in there and let you tell them.
like
than we
you
have
the
to-
bad news.
You know, I mean, so it.
And sometimes they, for
But they
some
like it.
reason, believe you like me more.
They do
Yes.
well because you're the expert. Though.
Right.
We're really
Yeah.
not. I'm not.
Right.
Style. Me, I'm not very stylish. You can.
You don't want to see his house.
Yeah. No. I mean, I just don't have any style.
I
That's
do
okay.
design help.
Yeah, well, you might have to do that someday. But
Yeah.
you know, it is. But you're the professional at it, and really, it helps because like you really do like you know like hey, this room by room, do this, 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 and this,
Yeah.
and it just it all makes sense, and it's really just really great advice.
Yeah.
If nothing else that they really should. And like you said, they don't always do it all.
Yeah.
Just like when we go to list a house, they don't always agree on maybe the price we tell them. They think a little different. Or
Yeah.
the way they clean up or whatever is a little different than what we recommend, but
Yeah.
it does help to have the professional eye
Yeah.
at that. For
And you
sure
to
for
say,
us.
well, let's see what the stager says.
Yeah.
So it kind of keeps
Exactly.
you in their good graces.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, like that house with the rust-colored carpet, they also had these huge brackets from old valances. They took the valances down, but they kept up the hardware.
I'm sure.
And so the realtor said, can you know, I mentioned it, they didn't want to take
Right.
it down. So when they came over and they saw the first look and they were very excited,
Yeah.
and I said, you know what would really just bring this room together? If you guys would be able to just real quick take down, and the realtor's like, yeah,
Good
you know,
job. Yeah.
because it was someone else coming in,
Right.
you know. So,
Yeah.
but our business is relationships, right?
It is.
We're
Exactly.
trying to help
100%.
people, and so how you go about it matters. So I've learned those things from other stagers who've gone before me.
That's
I think
awesome.
how you speak and the respect you show is
Yeah,
really
for sure.
important.
I
Yeah,
would agree with that
absolutely.
100%. Yeah. So your husband is your mover. Do you have
That's
other help if you
right.
need? I guess you have the.
What are you doing Saturday?
Oh,
I
Lord, I'm
do.
sorry, I'm busy that day.
I do have other help that I bring in as needed,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm kind of at a boutique phase, which is good, where I'm the sole stager, designer,
That's great.
sorcerer. I do everything. Not
Yeah.
sorcerer,
Sor-
sorcerer. You know, but then my husband and I do another thing about staging is I don't buy super substantial heavy pieces.
Oh yeah.
We buy thinking nobody's going to be sitting on this. It's
Oh,
going to
sure.
be in and out. We need to lift it. We try to keep it
Yeah.
under
Right.
size and poundage and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So far I'm guessing what I'm saying is I'm not dying yet.
Yeah.
Because I'm on the other end of that couch, right?
Right. Yeah. You got the other end. He's got
Yeah.
one. You got the other. That's
Yeah.
funny.
We kind of
So,
make it a date.
Without giving away any trade secrets, like where do you typically buy furniture? Do you have like a certain? Are there furniture stores you go with, or
Or
do you get them on
websites?
website? Is there
I
any
do a
one
lot.
particular?
Yeah, I do a lot online. I get a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
from Amazon,
Okay.
Wayfair,
Yeah, okay.
Target. A lot
There you
of the decor is Marshalls and Ross,
Oh, yeah.
that kind of thing. Of course, once again, if I were to get like a luxury listing
Yeah.
that was a higher price point, you wouldn't bring stuff from Ross in there, or at least you'd
Right,
want to take
right,
off
right.
the label. Yeah, $7.99 for this plant for 2 million house, you know. But the price range of houses I've been doing, it seems to work well. So
That's awesome.
now when I'm getting into like design work, like I'm helping a house right now in Wentzville just redesign their house. I'm helping them with that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Then you get into like West Elm and different places that are nicer, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In my mind, Ashley furniture is nicer, but I don't think that's true. I think there's another level above that as well. So I have a frugality streak. Yeah. And if I spend less, I make more.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
of course.
exactly.
Yeah, right,
So,
right.
yeah.
How long do like in staging? How long do you typically keep furniture? I was
60
wondering
days.
that.
Yeah.
60 days. is
I can
all?
give you up to 60 days. Yeah.
Oh no,
Or in the house.
no, I kind of meant. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's in the house. I
Oh,
meant
yeah.
like I guess like do you
What's the longevity of your
long,
pieces?
yeah, like when you
Oh.
buy it, and do you ever like have a buyer like come to you and say, hey, we really like this furniture, could we buy it off you? Do you ever
Mm-hmm. It's
do
not
that?
happened to me, but I know
Okay.
it happens to a lot of stagers.
Okay.
My stuff, I would probably say no, because your kids are going to ruin that,
I gotcha.
or
Right,
you
right,
can't
right.
sit on this forever.
Yeah.
But and then as long as how long do I keep my inventory? I mean, I do like to switch it out to keep things fresh.
Yeah.
And there is wear and tear on things, so then
Yeah.
you'll like have a marketplace sale and sell it off, and
Oh,
then
that makes
replenish and
sense.
things like
Oh,
that.
yeah,
So
cool. That's awesome.
yeah.
Very
But I
cool.
would be very afraid of somebody saying, "Can I buy this whole thing?" Because it looks beautiful.
Right.
It'll last you 3 months.
Right. I get you. I totally get you. Okay. That makes
Yeah.
perfect
So-
sense. Yeah.
And as a new business owner, probably all of that will advance as I advance. you
yeah,
know?
right,
So-
Yeah.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, cool. So what's the goal for houses this year? How many are you going to do, you think?
Well, last year I did, so between June and December I did 15. So I wanted to
Nice.
at least double that this year.
Nice.
It's so weird because it's the spring selling season, but inventory is so low.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's been hard booking jobs. I think I've had 4 so far.
Yeah.
since January.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be a little bit higher than that. So
Right,
just doing
right.
my networking and
Yeah,
stuff. But I know you guys are looking for
Same thing.
people
Same.
to sell
You're
houses.
looking for those
so
houses to sell to have you come stage, and they're hard to come by these
it's
days.
a
They
group
really are.
issue right now. So
Yeah.
I understand.
That's
but
affecting all of us for sure. But we just keep, like you mentioned, you just keep plugging away and doing what you do, and
Yeah.
try to make it work.
It'll all work out.
That's awesome.
build relationships with people, get
Yeah.
out there and network, do what you can,
Right.
Exactly.
do random podcasts.
Random podcasts.
Exactly.
Yeah, good. Man, we appreciate you doing that.
No,
We do.
it's
We appreciate
great.
you coming on.
Yeah. Anything else you can think of?
No.
So, how can our listeners get a hold of you if they need
If they
to
want
sell
to
a
stage
house?
their house.
Obviously, they can call us and we'll put you in touch because we got to list you first. But that's
Yeah, we can
how about
tag
a
team
website?
tag.
Yeah, we'll get it
How
to you
can
right
how can
here.
they reach out to you?
Yeah. Well, my website's marchhomestaging.com.
Perfect.
Gmail, marchstaging@gmail.com. I'm pretty active on Instagram if you want to go and see before and afters. I have a lot
Yeah,
of my
cool.
pictures and work on there. So
That's awesome.
you can DM me.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what the cool kids
That's
say.
what yeah.
That's what my
that's what-
adult children say. Slide into my DM. No, I think that means something different. Never mind.
Yeah, that might not. Yeah, I'm not
My
sure what
husband
that.
would
I don't
care
even know
for
what that means.
I
but
don't
that's
think
okay.
it's okay. Just send me a message.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or just reach out to us here at the Kemp team. We'll be happy to put you in touch with Jillian and help you through the entire process of getting your home staged.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
you got anything else?
Nope, I think
Good.
we're good.
Jillian, thanks again
Thank
for
you,
coming. We
guys.
appreciate it. This is a lot of fun.
Really fun. Thanks.
Right on.
Perfect.
Thanks.
All right.
We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to Getting Real with Real Estate with the Kemp team. Have questions about real estate or something you'd like to discuss? Contact the Kemp team at 314-336-1926 or visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/the Kemp team. Don't want to miss any episodes? Follow us on your favorite podcast app or YouTube. The Kemp team. Real, honest real estate.